beautiful subconscious. I'm Shell Marie. So today I am very honored to welcome Jodie to our show. Jodie is a feminine embodiment coach and womb healer who specializes in guiding women to heal generational trauma carried through their mother line. Her work focuses on releasing the deep, often unspoken patterns stored in the womb, allowing women to fully come home to themselves and reclaim their unique expression of womanhood. She's not only a powerful healer, but also a mother, lover, creator, and a truly inspiring presence. Welcome, Jodie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I'm very excited to chat to you. I'm so excited about this line of work, and the fact that you stand for coming home to yourself too, like that is the essence of this show, like beautiful subconscious and coming home, a place within. That is the tagline for this show. And I think it's just such a beautiful alignment. And yeah, I know we've been waiting to do this for some weeks now.
We're here, we made it.
But we're here, we've made it. So before we dive right in, we are going to pull a card. So you just channel on in and let me know when to stop, and that'll be the card for today.
All right, stop.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, I'm divinely beautiful and uniquely me.
Oh, I love that.
That couldn't be more perfect, I feel.
I know. That is so good for everything.
All the things. Oh, well, my love, let's get stuck right on into it. I would love to know, and for those who may not be familiar, can you explain what womb healing actually involves? How did we get into this? There's so many questions, but firstly, let's start with what womb healing is and then how you got into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like womb healing these days is such a broad thing to say as well. Like it's very unique to each healer, and I guess it's like seeing any practitioner. Everyone brings their own style, brings their own thing. So there's so many different parts of womb healing that you could do and so many different ways you could do it, but I'll speak to what I do personally, and what I find so important about womb healing is that we heal the generational wounds of the woman before us. And I really see our womb as our subconscious feminine, right? Like we have our head, we have our heart, but like we're truly moving from our womb, our subconscious feminine, and that is our mother line to all the women that we date back to. And it's not just like our mother, our grandmother, our great-grandmother. Like I'm talking about all the generations of women. And when I do womb healing, that's the work that I work with. It's healing the woman before you, because that is the woman that you are moving from. And it's stored and manifested us within our womb, because if you think about it as a woman, like that's how we're created. That's how we're birthed. It's our space of connection. It's our space of, embodiment of who we are. And if we're not connecting and healing that woman before us, we're going to keep moving from her fears and traumas and experiences and patterns and everything that women have gone through in history. We're going to keep moving from that. So I do a lot of generational energy clearing, but also a lot of subconscious and feminine, I guess, shadow work of your ancestors in your womanhood, in your woman line.
That's so intriguing. I've got so, I love all of that. So where do I start? So we understand, from what you've just said, it's not just the mother, it's not just your aunties, it's not just your great grandmother, is it the women of those generations before us? So whether there was a bloodline to them or not, because energetic, that's our field, right? We know that we're all energetically interconnected, past, present, future. It's all within there. So you're supporting the women of today and the clients that you have in front of you by understanding the women before them and how they're channeling through your client. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So when we heal and connect to the woman before us, we hear ourselves and all the women to come.
Yes.
It's like we're a lineage healer, and us women have this absolute power, and it really lives within our womb space.
Yes, absolutely. So when you have a lady, like someone in front of you, and you're like, okay, so why would they come? Firstly, okay, so let's ask, why would a woman come to see you? What are they experiencing to be like, okay, I need something cleared here?
Yeah, it's always physical.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk to something we have normalized so much today is like period cramps and, irregular periods, maybe heavy periods, any kind of womb disease, endo, PCOS, fertility struggles, low libido. We have so many different labels on these physical symptoms that we hold within our womb. But what they are is messages for us to listen to from our ancestors. It's pain, and our bodies are say all the time, our bodies are so fucking clever at protecting us, right? They're so fucking clever. That is their job, and they do it so great. And consciously, we can think they do it so terribly.
Yeah, I know. They don't even give it any credit. Our bodies are
No,
stunning.
they do it perfectly. They're so good. So when we have gone through so much trauma in our mother line, and then all of a sudden we're having really painful periods and cramps, we're like, oh, okay, let's just pop a pill. Let's just take this. Let's cover it up. Let's hide this. It's like every moment we're not listening to what that scream of our ancestor is. And if we go back and heal that and clear that out energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if we heal that whole of our womb and that wound that they felt, then that's going to clear. I've had women come to me and they've had painful periods, and after, like, I didn't even know my period came.
How incredible. And what a polar opposite for someone who gets debilitating and I get clients like that too. They have debilitating cramps through their menstrual cycle to then all of a sudden be so regular and so sacred with their cycle. It is the most beautiful transition and connection that they get to have with themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when they start to experience your line of work and you open up the past of their ancestors, what's that experience like? Can you walk us through what they go through, what they experience?
Yeah, so there's different ways, I guess. So if you were to work with me in a one-to-one, I just do a womb healing, being the energy clearing of your ancestors, and I share with what came up and what energies are stuck there. And I go through and I really look at the energy that's being held around your root and around your womb. That is the only energy. What are your ancestors at your roots bringing up to your womb? And feeling that energy there. And then I share about it at the end, but I also do a big energy clearing. And this is if it's a one-to-one scenario. And I mean, what I hear from the other end is when they share with me at the end and they say, oh my God, like I'm in this almost like euphoric state. Like I feel like I've just dropped all this heaviness and I've come back into my body. Like I feel the shift of it. And then if we're doing a womb healing or one-to-one, I always dive deeper into like, okay, but we still need to clear it. And I think this is the different thing. We might clear it on an energetic level, but we're also still physical and emotional. We have to still have that clearing on other levels. So we've got to figure out how to integrate that on other levels. Like, do we write letters to our ancestors? Do we burn letters to our ancestors? Do we write forgiveness letters to ourselves? Do we do some somatic practices to shift it out? What are we doing to then move it? So that's very dependent on that person. But what I always hear at the end, it's like, I just feel dropped back in. And that's why I said it's coming home. It's like I just feel dropped back into my body. But then I have my other side of work where I have a mentorship, which dives deep into the subconscious feminine work and the archetypes of the subconscious feminine and the shadows within there. And I add the womb healing within that. And that is, women will come into there because when we look at the womb, right, it's like, it can be any part. Are we working with intuition? Are we working with trying to find your purpose? Are we working with reconnecting with your pleasure, your sensuality? Are we working with, fertility? Are we working with birthing babies, birthing projects, birthing businesses, like creativity? We can have any of those things. They all live in our womb. So if we're not going to connect to it, we're not going to fully be able to embody and connect to those things. So if you're working in that space, it could be any of those things that you might come into my world with. And we dive deep into the subconscious patterns of your feminine and what your ancestors are holding you into those spaces. Then diving into all the different layers of the womb and everything like that.
Oh, I love it. This line of work absolutely fascinates me. I absolutely love because I breathe this. Our subconscious is such a channel of what we can connect to. And so I get my question with your ancestors. So what messages do they generally hold? And I know it's person to person and client to client, but what messages can you say that come through or give us an idea?
Yeah, it's more like some have clear messages, but it's mostly the feeling of what they felt. And it could be fear, like there was deep fear from your ancestor because they've gone through something where they had to hide, or there is deep pain from your ancestors because they've gone through something where they've had something ripped out of their womb, or they've had a miscarriage, or they've had an abortion. Like, you can feel the energy of that. So it's always around like a grief, a fear, a pain that you're holding on to. And then of course we know with the subconscious, right, we're holding on to that, so it's going to create beliefs from that in our day-to-day life.
Hello, lovely listeners. Our Total Life Transformation Program is live. If you feel stuck in your health, career, relationships, or money, this is the chance for a complete revamp. Over 6 months, you'll experience powerful changes that will transform every part of your life. With the guidance of 5 specialists, so yours truly, a kinesiologist, money mentor, functional health practitioner, career advisor, and our relationship coach, we address 4 key life pillars: your health, your career, your money, and your relationships. One investment shifts you from feeling low-key unfulfilled to fully energized and inspired in every area of your life. Health. If stress, emotional baggage, or unhealthy habits drain you, we will help release what's in your subconscious and create a personalized nutrition and supplement plan to reset your energy and health. Career. If you feel lost or stuck in your career, our kinesiologist and career mentor provide clarity, confidence, and an action plan to move forward with purpose. Money. If scarcity or fear around money keeps you stuck, we heal your financial blueprint. With our money mentor, you will gain practical strategies to confidently manage your finances for life. And relationships. If disconnection in your relationships leave you feeling unseen, we heal emotional wounds, leading to deeper connection, trust, and love. Now it's time to create your extraordinary life. So book your clarity call now for our Total Life Transformation Program, because it is live and waiting for you. And then it has that a flow on effect with those beliefs and impact our thoughts, and then our thoughts impact the way that we show up, and then it's got a feeling in our physical, and no wonder then we all of a sudden do have these issues with either a menstrual cycle or like the libido. And this is what I think is really fascinating, because there are women that in this modern day world that want to drop back into their sensuality and want to, and I feel it, maybe it's in the circles that I'm hanging out with now, and I'm hoping it's generating out. And there's a movement, right? I feel like there's a movement that we're all allowing the feminine to come home, us to come home to the feminine, which is the most stunning space. But the women that are the modern day women who want to feel more sensual, but just don't know how that feels. What can your line of what would they benefit from? Like, I know so much, but how can we get them to your line of work is what I'm trying to say. What can you tell them?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing when it comes to like sexuality, sensuality, pleasure, anything like that, it's this craving for connection, because you don't have connection with yourself. And until you create a safe bound with connection, you're not going to be able to move into those spaces.
And so how do they know if they're not connected to themselves? How does that show up?
Well, it will be like the low libido. That is a really, really big one, low libido. I have a lot of women who come to me and go, I've got low libido. I'm like, no, you don't have low libido.
Yeah.
Right? We need some connection. It can be through not voicing that, like having communication, not being able to voice their needs, not being able to have healthy boundaries, crossing boundaries. All this shows that we have a disconnection with ourself, and we don't feel safe to be in our body. And if we're not going to be safe to be in our body, how can we step into that sexual side, that sensual side, the pleasure? How can we step in there? We have to create safety first. It comes back to safety within.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, right? If we're not feeling safe in our body and we're inviting someone to enter our body, then we're going to be showing up guarded and like in an unconscious state of fear, because that's playing out from our ancestors that have been undealt with. And our bodies are this, space that we want to feel sacred in and invite someone in lovingly. But if we're still holding that, then unbeknowingly we're playing out this like protect and guard, even though there's, we've got,
and honestly, there's the opposite side of like low libido as well. I also have a lot of women I work with, and this is probably where I was before I went on my journey, was not seeing your body as sacred. So you're using it to give away to try get love.
Mm-hmm.
If I give it up, I'll get love. If I do what they want, I'll receive love.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't voice what feels really good for me and I just go along with that, then I will feel love.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I use my body to manipulate something, then I feel love.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a common thread too, for sure. I speak about this very often where I had such a disregard for my body. It was the most reckless home that I had. And it was like, how much destruction can I cause within her? How much disrespect? Yeah. And it wasn't obviously a conscious thing, but it was just like, the way that the mindset in and around it was just so disregarding. And it just was in that need of wanting to be loved or to be in control or however it was, to ultimately feel safe and to be connected. And so when I became a mum, that was when it all shifted for me, because I'm like, holy shit, like we spoke off air, my labor experience was the most profound thing. And that was my spiritual awakening, where it was a state of surrender. And I wasn't consciously not choosing, like, now, like I'm not obviously not the person that I am now back then. So there was very much on the table of, and it's so okay. Like, are you going to have drugs or epidurals or what's your, and I'm like, oh, look, I'm not going to plan anything. I'm just going to see how it goes. I'm not denying anything. I'm just going to see how it goes. So as a young 24-year-old, I was just like, I'm just going to let it do its thing. And then as the laboring started to come, it was just like this most profound, like, I'm just going to allow, like, if it gets worse, I'll think about it. If it gets worse, I'll think about it. The labor room was super silent. There was this like beautiful serenity in the air. And I didn't realize how much I allowed myself to surrender to my body and allow her to take over and birth my daughter. And from then on, I was like, oh my gosh, the sophistication that plays out between the body and within the body, and how she knows what she's doing if you allow her that power and that connection and that respect, that I am now on this trajectory because of that day and because of that moment. And coming home to her was the most spectacular thing.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yes, that innate wisdom. And when you feel a moment of that, it's like, oh, okay, this is it.
Yes,
yes. And that's what it is. And that's why I love that we both use coming home. I think all the work that we do is about remembering, reclaiming, and coming home.
Absolutely. So I am intrigued. How did you find this journey? How did you get on this path?
I had to go through it all to get here, as it usually is.
Yes, it was.
So I feel like I've had like many lives working with people in different ways, from like being in, the justice system and working in the criminal side of things, and then shifting and then coming more into myself and healing myself through holistic practices and moving into holistic counseling, and then going a little bit deeper and being like, okay, it was me. I was disconnected from my feminine, and I was very much disconnected from my body, and had a lot of body shaming when I was younger, body disconnection. Like I said, my body wasn't sacred. It was given away to try receive love. It was, purged, binged, all the things done to it to try feel a sense of worthiness. And it was actually a yoga class that really changed my life one day, because I'm in Bikram and I'm like in that mindset of like, I just got to push and push and push and push and like get it done real, like, I don't really call it masculine energy, that wounded feminine energy of like, I've got to get it done. I've got to push my body. I've got to disconnect to my body. And I dislocated my knee in the middle of a Bikram class, like sweat everywhere, boiling hot. Like I pushed my body way past what it could go, and I was in eagle and it just popped out and I just dropped to the floor. I know. And I was like, that was the best thing that could have happened for me, because I then got to this space where I was like, I'd already been doing yoga for a month or so, and the beautiful philosophies that already start getting imprinted in you, even though you didn't come there for that. I was there purely for the physical.
Yeah.
It was getting imprinted into me. And then I'm like sitting in this space where I didn't want to go to surgery. So I was like, okay, I have to really rest and connect to my body. And she is screaming at me at this point, like, I need to listen because I've had a dislocated knee. Before that, like only maybe a few months before that, I got told I was at very high risk of having a stroke because I was on contraception. So I was just completely disconnected. And I was like, this is my turning point where I have to either listen or what's on the other end of it, because it's not looking fucking pretty. Like, it's not looking great for me. And she's screaming at me. So then I went down, I did my yoga teacher training, and I taught yoga, a few different places around the world. And then I did my meditation teacher training, and I really dove deeper into my body. But it was really, I noticed then I was creating this connection to my feminine, and I was doing, you heal your inner child, and you regulate your nervous system. I was doing all those things, and I was feeling this connection to my feminine, but I wasn't able to embody her because I wasn't doing any generational work. And part of me was still disconnected to my womb. There was still a sense of a bit of ick around the word. Like, I always say, if I told myself 5 years ago that I would, or 7 years ago that I was a womb healer, I'd be like, what the fuck, Jodie? Ugh, what do you mean? What? Don't say that.
We are who we are, right? I get it.
Yeah. And now I'm like saying it all, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I had to really find this embodiment, and that came in healing the generations of women before me. And I did multiple different healings, saw multiple different people, did a lot of self-healing, did all these different spaces, and did, energy work. And then it was all about this reconnection with my womb and myself that allowed me to connect to my innate wisdom of what I'm here to do and how I'm here to heal women and what I'm here to remind women of. And when I was able to go back and connect to my ancestors and see what their power was and how they healed in the matriarchal days, because I wasn't moving from any other wounds anymore. I had passed all those wounds, and I was back at the very beginning where we were able to so freely be ourselves and in our wisdom and in our power and in our connection and in our healing, that I was able to then, and it was actually really around the time that I was pregnant that I was leaning really deep into this stuff, because I was preparing for, a really beautiful birth that I wanted. I was preparing for, no intervention or anything like that. So it was, I have to look at my ancestral line. I can't just come into my birth experience and think, all right, I've just done, some stuff I've done my inner child healing, I've done this, and, I've cleared some father wounds and mother wounds, and I've done my hypnobirthing. It's like, no, your body is fucking cracking open when you're pregnant. Like, everything that's being stored and hidden in there is now coming out and being exposed. And I need to hold that, because I'm going to be in the most vulnerable place of my life, and I need to heal these wounds before, so I can have the birth that I know I desire, and I can feel that my boy desires too. It's a two-way journey, and I could feel that. And I had to do this work before, and that was really when I dove so deep into healing the lineage of women within me and coming back to the womb. And I think once you meet motherhood, like you were saying, you just step into this innate wisdom that you hold, these instincts, these intuitions, and it just only gets deeper and deeper as you go along.
Yeah, wow, that's stunning. Well, firstly, I'm surprised that we haven't crossed paths earlier, because I was like in the Bikram studios all the time too. I'm like, that was my start of the yoga journey as well. I'm like, are you serious? How have we not crossed
Maybe we have.
paths? Maybe we have. But we're just being like, we were in our wounded feminine, being like
getting to this moment.
Getting it done. Wow, like that's just that. Yeah, that blew my mind exactly. And I think you've said it a lot, and it is about coming home to your feminine. And I don't know if women understand really what that is. Like, I just don't know. They can conceptualize it, and they can understand it may look a particular way, but how it feels and the embodiment of that, I do truly believe it's foreign for a lot of current day women, unfortunately.
Yeah, and there's a lot of women who are fighting to be in their masculine today. There is a lot of women who are fighting to have both, to find balance. And I can see that from a space of what us women have gone through and the fight that we've had to go through to seen as worthy by society. Like, for us to let go of, I guess what I say is, we absolutely, of course, everything has masculine and feminine energies. We all have this polarity, this balance. You might say head is masculine, heart is feminine. And that's why I always talk to the womb. And that's your subconscious, because where we're moving from is the subconscious, right? Like, that's where we're actually moving from. And she's the subconscious feminine. She's the one running the show, and she's where she comes from, the history of women before us. But if we're not healing that history of women before us, we're going to keep fighting to be in all these other wounds. And whether that's like, I've got to hold on to my masculine because that's success and that's that's where I get action, and that's where there's power. And I've got to hold on to my feminine because there's emotion and there's vision there, rather than being like, no, I need to drop deeper into my body, into my subconscious, sacred subconscious feminine, and heal her. And I can see that I can have my wholeness of everything actually within me when I come home to it. But right now, when I'm trying to fight for either side, I'm just moving from a place of wounds. And it might not be yours, and it's probably not yours, it's your ancestors. And we look at the history of women and what women have gone through, like, holy shit, of course you're going to try grab onto something that makes you feel safe in that way.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so what you expressed was like in that space of duality still, right? Like where it's just like masculine, I'm going to stick with that. No, it's the feminine, and just trying to navigate that inner sort of conflict. But what you're saying is, yeah, dropping even deeper from that and healing the subconsciousness, which is through the womb, and you get to then embody the wholeness of all of those things and the sphere of everything that who you are, which I just think is the most fascinating thing. And it's true. This is like, that's the basis of my line of work as well. It's just like once you get the awarenesses of either and how it shows up, it's the integration of them all to then become the wholeness of it all.
Yeah, drop into that deeper. And I always say, like, the sacred subconscious feminine who lives in your womb, like, she is everything that you need. Everything is there, but we just have to walk the dark waters and go through the deaths and the rebirths to really come home to her. And it's so beautiful when you do that.
Oh, it sounds that I'm so intrigued, and I would love to keep chatting. Like I would, firstly, if people are at the beginning of exploring this work, and we know that, yeah, it can show up in physical, often it, yeah, like you said, it shows up in menstrual cycles or low libido or an array of different symptoms on a physical level and probably on an emotional level. Where should they start? What should they do?
Start by, I would say, inviting in connection to your womb every day, like whether it's just a hand on your womb. And some women have even said, like, where is my womb? What is that? And the way I love to drop women in is just go, feel your hand, place one palm on your hips and feel your hips, and then place one palm on front of pelvis, one palm on back of pelvis and feel into that. Then place one palm on top of each other and you'll meet your womb. You can really feel the energy of coming into yourself. And when you do that, connect daily and just be like, is there anything I need to know? And you might feel fucking stupid saying it.
I get it, yeah.
But notice if there's sensations like, oh, cramp. All right, what's that cramp trying to tell me? Just start to get really curious with your body sensations, because that's going to invite in a depth for you. That's going to where you can start to explore a little bit deeper in, because every fucking sensation in our body is a message. Every sensation in our body is a message, and a message from our ancestors. It's something for us to listen to. We carry so much wisdom just as we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us, how do women work with you? Where can they find you? How can they work with you?
Yeah, so a couple of different ways. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Jodie.Yearwood. A couple of different ways to work with me. I have my mentorship. It's called Reclaiming Your Womanhood Mentorship, because that's basically the depth of it. It is reclaiming your womanhood. That's a 7-month mentorship where we go through each sacred subconscious feminine. We dive into it for a month. We go through the shadow of it, the shadow that was connected to your ancestors before. We release that. And the reason I have each archetype for a month and the depth is for a month is because integration and embodiment is everything for me. Like, we need that space to integrate it, to move through the shadow, to witness the shadow, to feel the light side, and then to embody the light side. Like, who am I now that I no longer hold on to my ancestors' fear? Who am I now? And within that, each month we do womb healing, we do sensual somatic yoga, and new and full moon ceremonies in circles. So that's a real big coming home space, real big reclaiming space. Or if you just want to dive into one-to-one work with me, I have my womb healing or just womb energy clearing, or I'm actually doing an in-person event if you're in Perth on the 14th of December at Twisting Peacock. It's called The Embodied Woman, and we're going to be connecting to our wild woman, one of our sacred subconscious feminine. We're going to be embodying her, feeling her, doing some sensual somatic yoga, and then ending with a little womb healing connection meditation.
That sounds exquisite. I can't wait. That's going to be epic. So I can't wait to stay connected. I'm totally coming to one of your circles. I think that will just be really beautiful to experience, that in and amongst, all the other work that you do. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you
you for
so much
chatting.
for having me. I've loved it. I could chat this forever.
I know, me too. Well, we have to do it again for sure.
Yeah.
And we didn't even touch upon that you are beautifully pregnant and about to be in labor. Oh, well, we have touched on it, but in February. But wishing you all the best. I'm hoping to see you before you birth, but
Yeah, I hope so too.
yeah, I'm excited for you, and just what a beautiful, sacred journey that it's going to continue to be. But I'm like from my womb to yours, I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. I so
My
love
pleasure.
this conversation and connecting.
Yeah, me too. We will do it again. So thank you, ladies. Let us know how you found this episode. If you feel that there are women in your life that know, or you feel that they could be supported with this and by Jodie, please send this episode their way. DM us and let us know your thoughts. It has been an absolute pleasure. And until next week, live life liberated.
Audience exclusive.